My name is Grace Hodges Dillman.
I am Dick Horner, and Grace Hodges Dillman is the sister of my father, Kenneth. We're two of the children of Howard and Mary Horner. Grace is shown here with her mother and older sister, Miriam.
Of her brain. It is fortunate.
And here at our home in Punta Gorda, February of 2004, Grace speaks of her sister Miriam, who is in a senior assisted living center and having some difficulties with her memory.
Did she? Yeah.
Well, it probably is not Alzheimer's.
It's a brain.
There are various
Dementia,
but
not caused by Alzheimer's.
Yeah. But she would remember things, and we would talk about the old times and what we did, and she would laugh, And then she'd say funny things every once in a while, and she'd go along and she said, I just can't. Everything's gone now, she'd say. As if she had a thought. And no longer
Sharon said on her email to us, she said she was glad that you and Leon could see, kind of what she was going through in that.
Yes.
And that she figured you probably caught on to some of these things that she was saying that weren't necessarily true or fact.
Yes.
She said that Rob hadn't even been to see her in
Yeah.
that room.
Sure.
And he's been
He and Jonathan
3 or
were
4
both, yeah.
times.
Oh, that's sad.
Yes, it is.
Well, Sharon says Bob's kind of worried too. I mean, he can see this.
We can.
How is he?
To
Is
me-
he?
For the neck.
So, and what is interesting
And now the
about
subject
it,
changes
Susan
to
is
Susan,
so intelligent, and
Grace's daughter.
she has not
my
fallen
cousin.
apart, or she's accepted it. She said, that she called me into the kitchen and she said, I have never had so much peace that God has given me
Isn't that
before.
something?
She said, I want you to know that, Mother. And she said, we're all in the waiting room, but we just don't know when we're going to be called.
Well, that's
And she said, I'm a little closer to the door than I had hoped to be.
Mm-hmm.
And but she said, I'm ready to go, but I don't want to go.
Yeah.
And that was illogical. And then she said 2 things to me. Mother, I don't want this to destroy you. And I don't want you to get
She's
old
thinking of you.
to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want you to get old because of it, as if I'm not. But anyhow, she's so wonderful. And we told you she was tutoring Purdue.
right.
Yes.
She has, I bet you, tutored for 50 hours.
Can she
She
be
does
strong
it.
enough to do that?
She
Because that's
does
got to
it.
be a strange.
And she
Yes,
said
it
not
is.
only does it help them, but it helps her. And so their players are 2, 10, 21, and 31. Now 31 is ineligible, but she's still tutoring because he's a senior.
So he can graduate.
And she wants him to graduate.
Sure. And now we change the scene to Bloomington, Illinois, where Grace has this beautiful condo. It is September 2005.
My name is Beryl Reese Dillman. I'm the son of Reverend and Mrs. C.K. Dillman, and I was born in 1918 in southern Indiana, right across the river from Louisville, Kentucky. Almost was a Kentuckian. And I do want to say how thankful I am that I've been a Christian all of my life. Not perfect all of my life, but I've been a Christian, and I appreciate the wonderful heritage that I have and appreciate the heritage that Grace has as I've married into the Horner Hodges family. Married to Grace in 1996.
And we had a big wedding. We had 7 brothers and sisters there, about 250 guests, and it was a great time of celebration. We left the next day for a honeymoon in Hawaii, and since then have been probably in Hawaii about, 20 times.
Close to it, 9 times 2.
So 18 times.
And you have traveled a lot, and I get tired just reading your itinerary.
Yes. In fact, Beryl said, and I didn't even, shall we say, I did not travel at all before we were married to speak of. I was fortunate to be able to cross the street. And now Beryl says, we have crossed, or I have crossed, the Rocky Mountains. How many times, honey?
About 110 times.
And so we're still flying. We have 2 homes, a condo in San Diego and a condo here in Bloomington, Illinois.
And don't forget that
He's married to Rita, and he works there in the Seattle area. Well,
You tell a little bit about the timeshare and where
we've
it is.
been able to exchange the timeshare that we own. In fact, the only thing that Grace and I own in common is a week of a timeshare. And we've been able to trade that timeshare for wonderful vacations in Europe, in southern Spain, as far as Europe's concerned. We've traded for places in Hawaii, Kauai, the Big Island. We've traded for places in South Carolina, and we've made very good use of the timeshare. We've enjoyed it very much. We've been on cruises too. One of Grace's favorite things to do is to take a cruise, and that's because she can put her clothes in the closet and leave them there during the entire cruise. Not have to get up every morning and pack her bags and set her luggage outside the door at 7 o'clock in the morning.
yeah, we've done some of that.
So when we think of a possible trip in the future, I say just remember, we want a cruise, not a tour. In fact, a tour demands you're walking a great deal and being out, like Dick said, at 7 in the morning and ready to go for another day. So
You're in Hawaii, right?
yes, the timeshare.
Well, my father was a minister in the United Brethren Church, and he had circuits. And I remember as a little child riding in horse and buggy as my dad would go from church to church. Well, after a few years, he joined the Free Methodist Church. And just this coming Sunday, Grace and I are to go to Boswell, Indiana, and we're going to be helping that little Free Methodist Church celebrate its 125th anniversary. One reason why Boswell is important to me is because I started my education program there. I went to first grade, and from there we moved on to Illinois, where I finished my education. While living in Boswell, I had an unusual experience. I fell underneath a porch swing, and you know the old-fashioned porch swings, how the bolts would stick down through underneath the swing? Well, one of those bolts came across and scraped the skull, and I have a scar in my skull that you can lay your finger in. Well, we had a medical doctor in our church there, so Mom called him, and he put me on the dining room table, this little 6-year-old boy, and he cleaned out that wound and sewed it up if there was any skin left. And my older brother says, "Boy, I can remember how you yelled and screamed while they were working on you." Well, that's a little different than it might have been today. Anyhow, it probably gave me a good excuse that anytime anything goes wrong mentally, I've got a good excuse, good reason. Well, the Lord's been good to me over these years. I was able to complete my education and was a high school teacher and a high school principal in Manteno, Illinois, where we knew the Hodges family. And to digress a little bit, Grace and I have been married now for 9.5 years, and it was after we had re-met at an Olivet University reunion 10 years ago that we decided we didn't have a lot of years, so we just better get married rather quickly. And so we've been married now 9.5 years, and it's been just a wonderful thing to be in the Hodges Horner family. We're happy to have Dick and Joyce with us as we're making this tape, and Dick is kind enough to let me do this on his camera and his video. Well, to pick up a little bit beyond that, after teaching high school for just a few years, then I became a college instructor, and the Lord's blessed me with an opportunity to teach both in public higher education and at the church college level. So we've been mighty fortunate. I have 2 daughters, one who lives in Hawaii, and she's married to a fine educator also, Carl Sturgis. And Ruth and Carl have 2 children, Philip and Annie. They live in Hawaii. And then I have another daughter in Seattle, and she's married to Jan Pence, another fine son-in-law of mine, and they have 4 children. Andy, who's the captain in the Air Force, fighter pilot. Andy is married to Sherry, who is a professional potter. As a matter of fact, Sherry has her own website, The Mad Potter, and we have some of her products. Very nice. Bob, who works for Washington Mutual. Ruth Elizabeth, who's married to Rick Dykstra, and he works for Starbucks, has one of the largest stores in the Seattle area, and they have 2 little boys, my only great-grandchildren. And then the baby in Carolyn's family was James.
Cruiseville for us, for the rest of our lives. I am the mother of Susan Niersteimer. Many of you know that Susan is fighting liver cancer, which is definitely a very negative situation at this time. And so I have tried my best to have courage and strength through a very difficult time. In September of 2004, after hearing a very negative report concerning her, I felt that I must find something that would be of help. So I went to God's Promises that was sent to me by the Billy Graham Association. And I looked through it, for it says God's promises for your every need. And I found 10 verses which to me have been so helpful at this time. I will recite them. I wondered if I could actually memorize them, as I am a very, very senior citizen. But God has helped me, and I've managed to gain strength from these particular verses. The first one is, let us hold fast to the profession of our faith without wavering, for he is faithful that commandeth thee. Wait upon the Lord, be of good courage, and he shall strengthen thine heart. Wait, I say, upon the Lord. Thou shalt keep him in perfect peace, whose mind is stayed on thee, casting every care upon him, for he careth for thee. Come unto me, all ye that labor and are heavy laden, and I will give thee rest. He giveth power to the weak, and to those who have no might, he increaseth their strength. And then one that is difficult to remember and to follow. Do not be anxious over anything, but in everything, with prayer and supplications, and with thanksgiving, make your request unto God. There hath no temptation or trial taken you that is not common to man. But God is faithful and will not suffer you to be tempted above that which ye are able, but will with every temptation or every trial make a way of escape. Fear thou not, for I am with thee. Be not afraid, for I am thy God. I will strengthen thee, I will help thee, I will guide thee with thy right arm of righteousness. And my favorite of all, trust in the Lord with all thine heart, and lean not unto thine own understanding. In all thy ways acknowledge him, and he shall direct thy path. These have meant so much to me, and through the night when I have been awake, trying to sleep, these verses I've been able to say to myself and found strength and help after praying for the many requests that we have. They have come through as being so meaningful. And you know, this personally has been important to me, and also to Susan, who has expressed hope and serenity and trust at a time that is very difficult for her. But we're still looking for that special miracle. And you pray with us that this might come true.